the difference between a prophet and a philosopher, right? Because a prophet for that society, like our messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is presenting something new for Makkah. They don't know this stuff. It's a new idea. And what does a philosopher do in a sense? Comes up with a philosophy, presents an idea, and people before him haven't heard this idea before, right? So it's a new idea. So in a sense, a prophet has something in common with a philosopher because they're both presenting a new idea. But what's interesting about philosophers is if they present their idea, they're not taking any risks. Right? They can sit, keep the blanket wrapped up around them, and they can document or write about their philosophy and their ideas. And they can keep it to themselves and maybe think, if I share it outside, maybe some people will call me crazy. Maybe some people will debate with me and argue with me. I don't want to deal with people. I just want to write my book. Maybe one day somebody will find this manuscript and they'll put it in a library, or maybe somebody will be impressed with it centuries later or generations later, etc., etc. Many of you high school students studied the French Revolution and the literature that spread in Europe with authors like Candide and Voltaire, Voltaire and Rousseau and others, like the book Candide. And these authors, they never imagined that their writings are going to lead to a revolution. They just wrote something because they just had some ideas and they wrote them down. No risk involved. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is taking a risk every single day. Every day he has to go out there and present what Allah has given him, unlike a philosopher. And he's going to be faced with continuous opposition. And when he's faced with that opposition, if a philosopher was presented with opposition, they would take offense to it. And they say, you know what? You don't want to hear what I have to say? I'll just go somewhere else. I'll talk to someone else who wants to hear what I have to say. But a messenger doesn't have that choice. Rasulullah ﷺ doesn't have the choice. The people who are rejecting him, making fun of him, calling him insane, the next day he has to go back to those same people. And they're going to say, oh, you're back for more? Okay, let's turn it up a notch. So they're not going to tone down their aggression. They're only going to hype up their aggression. So his job, alayhi salatu wasalam, is actually getting more and more difficult by the day. It's an important observation. And so every day he does have to go back after this exhaustive, hyper-aggressive day that he's had with these people reacting to him in this visceral way, and he has to go back and he has to wrap himself up. And Allah is saying, get up again, get up again, get up again. And there's this beautiful correlation between spiritual fitrah and natural fitrah. Many of you guys, I make reference to like working out and exercising and things like that. In any exercise, if you do exercise, what are you actually doing? You're tearing your muscles. That's what you're actually doing. If you're pushing past your limits and you're really getting out, going past your maximum, etc., you're tearing your muscles. And then you need to recover. You need time for recovery. And then the moment you recover, you're stronger than you were before. And even if you're 1% stronger, you go back to the gym the next time, you're able to push just a little more than the time before because your ability has enhanced just a little bit. But then, so you withstood more difficulty, tore yourself up again. And there's this constant cycle of you literally getting injured in a way, and then recovering, and then getting injured, and then recovering. And that's actually the Qur'an's relationship between da'wah and spirituality. Surah Al-Muzammil is the surah of us and Allah. Ibadah, Qiyamul Layl, Tahajjud. Right? That's recovery. Now that you have recovery, you're ready to go outside and deal with people. And when you deal with people, you're going to take damage. And it's going to take a toll on you. The moment it takes a toll on you, you need to go back into recovery. So the night of the Prophet ﷺ is recovery, and the day is for taking new damage. And then recovery and new damage. And it intensifies every day. It gets worse and worse and worse. So as the seerah progresses, his job is going to get more and more and more difficult. That's the cycle that Allah created.